Hello and welcome back to another Craig and Dave Unscripted. So if you've been following us for the last few weeks, you'll know that we've been stepping through the first ever Craig and Dave Cryptic Challenge. We've been taking you through all the puzzles and all the hard work I went through. No one was ever going to solve this Cryptic Challenge. Far too complicated, far too convoluted. But no. A group from Calderstones School smashed it in about 8 to 9 weeks, and we've been telling you we're going to have them on. So we are going to bring on, without any further ado, Liam Edgley and the class from Calderstones School. So, hey, hello, guys. There they all are. We've got them muted at the moment, not because we don't want to hear from them, just because we're getting a bit of a feedback from the class. So we'll hear from them in just a moment. But I think it's a year 12 class and a year 13 student in the back right there. Give us a wave. And Liam as well. Before we dive into having a chat to you guys about it, first of all, look, a huge congratulations. We promised we'd give you a little gift. I don't know if these have arrived yet. But we are going to, they've arrived. You're nodding away. Yeah, cool. So yeah, the Craig and Dave Cryptic Challenge champion mugs, they are exclusive, gentlemen. You cannot get them anywhere else. You cannot buy them on our shop. No one else can purchase those. You are the only people in the country to have them. I'm proper bigging that up. Right, let's put you guys in the spotlight then. Right, I'll tell you what, let's start with you, Liam. To talk to us. How did your class find out? Did you find out about it? Did one of your students find out about it? How did it go?
It was me. Yeah, Christian came into my year 13 lesson one day and mentioned that asked me whether I'd seen the Craig and Dave Cryptic Challenge, and I hadn't got a clue what he was on about at all. And then he showed me your very cryptic YouTube video, and we got properly nerd psyched. I think is the best description of that one. As soon as we get an interesting puzzle, we can't put anything down. That was our curriculum completely derailed the next fortnight. Don't tell my head.
Sorry about
that. So we went looking for Amiga symbols, and we found one on the homepage, and we started off just brute forcing it. So in the case of about an hour, we've been through all of the main pages on Craig'n'Dave.org, and then we have a look at individual subject videos. And we've not got a lot of those. Yeah, there's an awful lot of those. Of course, the different specifications as well. So we started off with our spec, which is OCR, and then went to Excel and AQA. And by the end of the first half day on this, we found the first stage of the 16 challenges for that one, and got cracking on those straight away. It was really fun, pretty good fun.
Cool. I mean, fantastic. So you didn't do any sort of cheaty stuff to find any of the Omega pages, because we did find
so not at the first stage. Some of the later ones we found a few hidden things. So we found out you left search enabled on your website. So if you went to Smart Revise, you could craft the URL to search for Omega and then find all the pages that we need. So that was quite handy later on in the challenge.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff is great, because someone actually within 48 hours of me putting the challenge up had sent me a link saying, I found all 15 of these. I found these. They had scraped the site XML map for the website and found them all. So I then had to go in and remove them from there. And I was curious if during this process, any of you guys had used any little sneaky workarounds and stuff. So look, so how did you guys, don't all speak at once, so now we're going to do this. How did you guys find it? Were there any stages that you particularly stuck on, or any you particularly enjoyed, or?
I think which one we
It was the part where we had to find the PowerPoint, and it had that thing that you didn't have the table, did you?
Oh, so stage. Oh no, I've got to remember which stage is which, because obviously it's a few weeks since we've done this. So the stage where you ended up having to crack cryptic symbols. We spent ages looking at that first ball, trying to work out whether this had been converted from Windings. We tried a few different fonts on that one before we found one of the later stages which had the key on there. Actually, I didn't put her on our team entry, but my daughter at home gave me a bit of help trying to do the coding between the letters and the symbols on that one, following the maze around to try and get the look table for that one. What else really tripped us up?
Page 25.
Oh, yeah, stage 4, the puzzle with the symbols to numbers. That was really good fun. We managed to get the expressions on the first stage done pretty easily. So we worked out what each value was, then trying to work out the place value. We looked at that for a good sort of hour before. I don't even remember which of you it was. And we went, could this be a different number base? And was it you, Jack? And then over lunchtime, we just started to plug away at that one. But there was also, I don't know whether it was a deliberate trick on there. Final calculation you have to carry out. One of the symbols wasn't printed completely perfectly. So to try a few different things there, we ended up with a spreadsheet where we were trying a few different calculations to see which division would give us no remainder, so we could get the final answer. Really good. So
it sounds like we totally derailed your lessons for a good sort of 2-3 weeks.
Yeah.
But we've actually just recorded the just before this today. We just recorded the video, which for our users would have gone out last week, but for you guys now it will go out next week, where we were explaining the final stages. And in there we were saying that we hoped you felt that even if it was taking up some of your lesson time, that the value in just computational thinking, problem solving, analytical thinking, they're all the skills, aren't they, that computer science students need, and so many of them lack. And actually it's people like, oh, well, this is a bit of a waste of time. But if you've got perseverance, problem solving, analytical, and you enjoy that kind of stuff, that's half the battle with computer science, isn't it?
You all agree with that?
Yeah.
It's one of those things that, because I'm head of department, I'm quite happy to go, oh, okay, we'll go off piece here a little bit and do something that isn't quite what we should be doing, so there's nobody telling me I can't. But yeah, you're absolutely right there. Particularly that first stage, that just links into the curriculum absolutely perfectly. In fact, we covered a few bits and bobs. So Stephen here did the work on the husbandry, which we haven't got to in our curriculum yet. So it's okay, I'll really quickly show you how they work. Now you go run, you've got everything you need to solve that puzzle, and half an hour later we have the answers to that stage. So even the bits that we weren't, we didn't already have the curriculum shops to cover, it was an opportunity to learn something new, try something out, and right.
Yeah, that first stage of the Cryptic challenge, where you've got those 15 problems, I mean, they're properly grounded in sort of A-level theory, so that's kind of useful. I mean, later on they were less so. I was going to ask that.
It must be really nice as well to be in a situation where the teacher hasn't got the answers, because obviously most of the time when we teach, we've planned the lesson, we know what we want the students to do, we know how long it's going to take, we know what the answers are, and we can, sort of script it and get the lesson to be how we want it to be. But this is a very different situation. This is, the teacher doesn't know where this is heading. The teacher doesn't know how long this is going to take. The teacher doesn't know what the answers are. So you're all in it together. And I just wonder whether that sort of was a nice sort of unique situation to just work together on this. And there's no sort of hierarchy here. Do you know what I mean? You're all working together.
To be honest, my opinion on it is I think that Mr. actually not knowing the answers mainly enjoyed it more than we did.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, sir. We're going to do
something. Our search for the Amiga symbols, we found the form you need to submit quite early on in the process. So we were halfway through the first 16 challenges, and I think it was Christian who you found the form, didn't you?
Yeah, we did some DuckDuckGo trickery and we found the form.
But then realizing that there were 7 stages to this, and we'd already spent a double lesson on the first sort of 16 parts of stage 1, I was a bit worried about how much this would take over our lives.
Right. That was a question I was going to ask, because obviously the way I designed it, you find all those Omega symbols. You're literally told, go and find the Omega symbols. You've got 15 challenges. And my hope was that people would solve the 15 challenges, put it together, get that URL, and then think, right, I've cracked it. Then, of course, the big gag for me is the guy turns up and's like, well done. You've proved yourself worthy to take on the real challenge. And then I do that several times, don't I? You solve the next bit. It's like, well done. You're still not there. You're still not there. But actually, you, as you said, you found that proof form. So fairly early on, you guys were like, oh, okay. There's a lot more to this than just the 15 challenges.
I mean, with my sort of retro gaming hat on, it felt very much like those 80s adventure games where you think you've finally got it solved, only to have the rug pulled out from under your feet. And yeah, that was, even though we found the form and knew there were more stages coming, it was quite nice that each stage would get a little bit of validation that you were heading in the right direction, and then a new puzzle. I will say, when we finally cracked the last stage, it was a bit sort of, oh, it's open now. It's a shame. Where did the puzzle come from?
Well, I tell you
It's
what,
never over. It's just the beginning. We've got more plans for the future. We haven't actually started working on them yet, but we will have more for the future. Yeah, it's interesting. Did you talking about the validation and going on to the next stage? I'm guessing you sort of experienced the thing that I love about programming. My students can't understand why I love it when I've got logic errors, and they're tearing their hair out and they're like, oh, I programming, you know, and I love it. I love the challenge of it, because the satisfaction you get when eventually you solve the problem, and 9 out of 10 times it's something simple that you'd overlooked, and you run the program and it works, and you get that kind of, yes, I solved it moment. And I just wonder whether that was a similar thing that you were experiencing as you were doing these challenges.
I'll have it over to you guys. What do you reckon is that one?
I guess.
Look at that, the typical over enthusiasm from year 12. Yeah, that's right. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, we don't know if we get the right answer until we've solved them all. So we didn't really have that until we got to the last stage.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
with the 15 characters, for example, you need to find them all before, you know, you have the right answer for the other ones.
Actually, that bit was a bit of an anticlimax, because, and I don't know whether I'm putting you on the spot here, but we weren't sure whether you got one of the answers wrong.
Right.
One of the puzzles in that first 16 stages, the XOR puzzle, we were absolutely certain it was one letter.
It was P, I think.
We got out to 18, was P, but we found from the URL that it was something slightly different. So I don't know whether for that one.
This is your candidate proof form you submitted. And first of all, I was amazed at the detail. I think you're talking probably, this answer here, isn't it? Yeah. Challenge number 11 out of 16. You've put R asterisk, and then you put R maths on the XOR gave us 80 equals P. And I was like, I haven't made a mistake, because you will not believe the amount of times I went through these answers, reworked them, reran them, redid them. I thought, if I have a single mistake in here, you can't get to a URL, you can't get to the next stage. I've got to get this right. And I'll be honest with you, I don't actually know which one of us is right. So maybe you are. So what did you actually do? Because obviously getting your answer of P wouldn't have got you, would it, to the next page? Had you found the next page accidentally, or did you do trial and error and try every letter in that place? Because obviously that would have got you for a bit.
I think you're right. That was a brute force. That was the only one where we had any suspicion that we got that one possibly a bit wrong. So we tried all, I think it was 36 different combinations there, and finally looked on the right one. But I guess we would have been able to work back, I think, with your DuckDuckGo usage if we managed to find the page.
Yeah, so you found the next page anyway, looked at the URL, figured out what it would have been. Yeah, but I mean, brute force, perfectly valid thing to teach, perfectly valid part of computer science. I don't know if any of you, you lads or yourself, Liam, have ever done any escape rooms or locked in the rooms, those sort of things. I'm a big fan of those, and you always get sort of I'm just going to put you guys on mute quickly. You in those locked in the rooms, escape rooms, you always get sort of combinations and safe locks you need to do. And I never solve all the problems. I solve the first 3 or 4. If it's a 4-digit code, I solve the first 3 and then just brute force the 4th one. So yeah, interesting. Were there any other little kind of workarounds or clever bits you did where you weren't necessarily following what I saw as the narrative of the puzzle, where you were like, oh yeah, we scraped this, we nicked that, we worked backwards from that point? Because the completed form, and I couldn't argue it. I looked through it and I was like, wow, these guys have smashed it. Everything's there. I couldn't believe it. And 8 weeks in as well. So yeah, how much of it would you say you not cheated at, but you didn't solve necessarily in the way I designed it?
Sorry, I just have to nip out there. We went to lose you on our projector for a second. So, trying to think of things we worked backwards from. I remember now. Do you remember, the puzzle where you had to, there was a map and you had to find a grid reference.
Yeah.
We'd found the grid reference, but we'd messed up on the previous stage, which gave you the decryption key to find that one. I think I had in my head that it was 314 for some reason. That was I was sort of working guess at what the encryption key was, because being idiots hadn't realised that the person with the arrow facing rightwards was Caesar, telling us it was a Caesar cipher. We've missed that clue completely.
So did Dave. So did Dave.
Yeah. I think you eventually reminded me of that one. Straight away. That's Caesar. That's yeah, of course. And so as a sort of idle task, while I should have been listening to some online training, I went through your giant grid of 36 squares, and I thought I'll be able to do some brute force on this. So I did a transliteration of each one, and then put them into a spreadsheet and went through and tried every possible shift until we got it, and then figured out, oh, it must have been 14. Worked backwards and got the answer there. But yeah, that was a bit brute forcing. So we literally tried every single shift, thinking we think it's square E5. That's what the map seemed to show us, but couldn't make head or tail of it until we got that one. That was fun.
This shows another good example why working in teams and team building is so important as well. I mean, we teach about paired programming being something that happens in the real world to programmers, because you're right, most of you who'd spotted wave a house, who spotted the Caesar cipher thing? Yeah. So you got a lot to owe to this year 13 apparently over here. You should have told us he needed a mug and a mouse mat. But yeah, that's right, because you can stare at something, can't you? You can stare at a piece of code and go, I don't know why it's not working. I don't know what's not working. Someone else walks by, go, oh, you missed a semicolon. You're missing a bracket, and you're just there going, you have got to be kidding me. So I mean, the fact that I always thought from the start that this might be solved by a group of people and not like a lone wolf, which is why when I did the form. So it was really nice to hear that this was, a group of year 12s and you got involved and that year 13 had got involved. I mean, it was really nice. How long do you reckon it took you then to solve the whole thing, start to finish?
I think it was 4 weeks.
We did even feel like a good 2 weeks.
It was probably 2 weeks, but it was all of our lessons during that 2 weeks. I mean, we were supposed to be doing other things, but flipping in some flags there. And then the occasional thing that I was certainly going home and thinking about this, and I don't know about you guys. The last thought going to bed every night was, okay, so what am I going to do about stage 3 problem? We've got to get through to the next step on that. One of the things that boxed us the most, actually, and killed an entire lunchtime for Jack and I, was the click the third spike puzzle. Because we were trying to solve that on my teacher's machine, which, because it's connected to a projector, runs at really low resolution. So the image was being rescaled, but the map that tells you where to click wasn't. So we were clicking away, going, which one of these things is the third spike? We can't find it. And eventually, we put my projector. Yeah, and straight away it worked. It was so frustrating. But yeah, total, I would imagine maybe a couple of 100 person hours. Yeah, easily.
The puzzle with the huge image as well was really annoying.
The fractal, yeah, that was fractal.
Yes, that was a 20,000 by 20,000 pixel image, and of course I'd buried the URLs in the image bitmap, so you couldn't like text scrape them or screen read them. So I hope that would be a pain. I'm glad that was painful. Yeah.
If you don't mind me asking, how many hours did you spend actually crafting these puzzles in the first place? I dread to think how long it was.
I probably spent 3 weeks solidly. I obviously work full time for Craig and Dave. I do 1 day of teaching, so probably full time, 4 days a week for 3 weeks, designing all of that, and then another week on top of that, just trying to solve all the puzzles that I'd written, and sometimes getting different answers each time and going, I've made this too complicated. And as you said, I may have even made a mistake somewhere. I'll have to find out whether you're right or I'm right on that XOR one. But yeah, it took me about 3 to 4 weeks in total. We do plan to do some more in the future because I think they're fun. We're probably not going to do any in the run up to the exams because we kind of feel morally and ethically we probably aren't helping teachers too much if we throw another cryptic challenge out when it should all be revising.
But yeah, I think maybe if we aim to do another one, maybe roughly around this time next year, sort of September, October time next year, those of you that are currently in year 12 will be in year 13, so that'll work out quite nicely.
What was that again? Sorry.
So you're saying that's brilliant. So apart from Christian, who'll hopefully do at university, then the rest of us can have a good go at that next year. Yeah.
Well, you'll have to get him back in on like Team or Skype or Zoom, just like a consultant.
Yeah.
That's it. I'll have his university solving it as well.
You've got a reputation to uphold now as well. So when we do the next one in 12 months,
I
you
know
know,
this all. They
it'll
won't
be,
care all about their reputation. It will be that they'll want whatever the new bit of merch is.
it'll become a race. It'll be, you know, can Calderstone School be the first school again to solve the second cryptic challenge? You know you're going to have other schools out
That's
there
it.
now
I'll be like,
trying
can
to take
anyone
your crown.
can anyone beat them? That's it. What was I going to say? You can tell it's unscripted because it's gone straight out of my brain. I was
Okay.
going to say something there.
Well, while Craig's
No,
thinking about it, this is kind of, you don't get many of these opportunities to actually say hello to Craig and Dave. So if there are questions that you want to ask us, this is a kind of an A&A part of the session, and we'll edit it out if we have to.
I didn't authorize this part of the
I know you didn't, but if there's anything that you would you'd like to ask us before we sort of end the episode, now is your chance.
Okay, I have a very important question. Is Craig and Dave seen as one combined entity?
Craig and Dave get started. I like it.
Right. I don't think we look the same at all, despite the fact we're both in our 40s. I don't think we sound the same, although apparently no one can tell the difference on YouTube. We get this so often. There's actually someone out there, I won't go into it, who truly believes that we are actually the same person and we're just using camera trickery. Yeah, so apparently I'm not real. Craig's not real. Dave is real, and I'm a figment of your imagination, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. Craig looks very unwell because I've invested in some decent studio lighting. So I'm kind of lit up like I've been on a Caribbean beach, you know, and Craig looks very anemic because he can't be bothered to get his studio lights out.
Like
yeah, we're not one entity. And surprisingly, although we agree on quite a lot of things, we also argue about quite a lot of things as well. So no, we're very different people. We have very different hobbies and interests and very different lifestyles, and you know, everyone thinks we're one of the same, but actually at the end of the day we're just two work colleagues that happen to bump into each other as our lives crossed paths, you know, a long time ago. So yeah.
There you go. Although Craig and Dave Limited, the company, is a completely separate, legal, valid entity and exists in its own right. To me and Dave. Go on. Any other questions while you hear them?
Yeah. How do you create the videos? Like, who comes up with the script and the editing and things like that?
So this is interesting. I mean, in terms of how do we actually create the main bulk content of the videos is literally just created in PowerPoint. We narrate over it and record it. But in terms of the top and tailing of the videos, the splash screens and all that kind of stuff, and all the funky screens we use during the Cryptic challenge, although we're called Craig and Dave, there are other people as we've grown that work for our company. But it's still a small company, but it's a bit of a mouthful to rename the company Craig and Dave and Mark and Sam. So we just leave it as Craig and Dave. But yeah, we literally could not run this company without all of them. And the one you're referring to is Sam. He really is our expert on that. So he's got Photoshop skills. He uses After Effects, if you've heard of that, Adobe After Effects. Few other bits and pieces. So yeah, whenever we need something kind of really fancy doing on the videos, we need a cinematic or a splash screen, he's the guy. It's actually one of the areas of computer science that I would, definitely me, Dave, but I would say we're probably a bit weaker at. You probably find this, the whole video, photo capture, digital manipulation is an area I could do. Well, I'm not an expert. Sam makes it look easy. So he's the guy that adds the kind of the pizzazz to everything. Because if it was me, it would just be a picture in PowerPoint and I'd be like, next slide. That would be it.
I think it's the one thing that we struggle a little bit with, in the sense that we'd like to do our videos in a kind of Brian Cox sort of, BBC production level. We'd really like to do them properly, but we just can't because we don't have enough time. And so it's just about, getting the content out there, to be perfectly honest with you. And it's the one thing that students do rib us about, because they're like, oh, the production quality isn't very good. Well, no, it isn't, because it's just the two of us. And we, until recently, we were both working full time in school. So it's just not something that we can do. And anyway, all that is IT. And now that we're computer science and we feel all kind of, you know, better than others as a result, that's all IT skills now, isn't it? So we're not really interested in any of that. But no, the truth is that I used to do a little bit of all that stuff, but it was so long ago. Every time I open up Photoshop now, I'm just frightened by it because it's just there's so many options. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't even do the simple things in it, and it really annoys me. But Sam's a bit of an expert, so he does all that.
Yeah, Sam makes the company look good. Dave and I just waffle on about computer science theory. Right. Well, it's been a 25-minute video. I don't want to end early if anyone else has got any burning questions left.
Oh, I do have another question, actually.
Oh, I
do have a few issues with the Craig'n'Dave starting intro music. If you were to turn it to full volume and play it, let's just say that you're going to come out of the video with your ears intact.
Yeah. So, yes. And that actually, are you guys doing the OCR exam board?
Yeah.
Right. So you're watching the H446 OCR remastered videos on YouTube. I realized that about halfway through making that series, about 75 videos in. So the second half of the videos, you realize that intro music is a lot more subtle. I didn't realize at the start. Sam had recorded it on full volume. It was off from the other. And yeah, you're not the first person to comment. It's really like, whoa, okay, hello, hi, right, I'm awake, I'm paying attention. Of course, what I couldn't do once I'd spotted the volume issue, I was like, there's no way I'm re-recording those 75 videos, re-uploading them to YouTube. People are gonna have to deal with it.
Please don't do that. We'll break all the links.
Yeah, well, this is another problem people have as well. Every time we upload a video on YouTube, it breaks the links. We do have static links on our student site, which help solve that problem. But yeah, that's it. And it's another illusion. A lot of people think Craig'n'Dave is this enormous company. You know, we've got some head offices somewhere, the bank of people ready to answer your calls. But as I said, it really is Craig'n'Dave, and then Sam and Mark and Andy. Mustn't forget Andy. There's 5 of us in total. We all work from home. You know, we all work from home. Dave and I still teach 1 day a week. So we've grown a lot due to, you know, schools like yourself. What's that? 2 days a week. Oh, yeah, well, you know. We've grown, obviously, quite a lot due to guys like yourself, Liam, obviously, you know, using our resources, and we hope it's because you think they're value for money and they're worthwhile. But we're still obviously, we're still practicing teachers. We're still quite a small company. So we're getting better. But yeah, we know there's a few issues with some of our videos.
And rubbish audio and rubbish sound effects and little glitches are, you know, the hallmark of a quality Craig'n'Dave product. You know, we can't have it perfect because that just wouldn't be recognizable as Craig'n'Dave. There has to be something wrong with it. I genuinely wish it was so much better, but we've just cobbled these things together and done the best we can with them until we can do them a bit more professionally. So yeah.
I was absolutely amazed that you guys were, you know, full-time teachers until very recently, because I don't think that people realise just how much effort is involved in creating resources for lessons. You know, they only see the hour in front of them. They don't realise the hours that are planning gone into it. So the fact that you guys were able to make, you know, 160 plus videos for a particular spec whilst doing a full-time job, you must have no social lives whatsoever.
Well, funnily, Dave has no social life whatsoever, because I have I have a busy enough social life for the pair of us. So I don't quite know how I managed to keep a social life and full-time teach and do Craig'n'Dave. Oh, I know what it is. I don't have kids, Dave. That's what it is. You're a father. So yeah. Oh, look, it's been. Does anyone else have any other questions before we kind of wrap it up? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. What made you start the whole challenge, the Krypton challenge? What was the whole like deciding idea?
Yeah, I can answer that one pretty quickly, to be honest. It was it was actually the second Cryptic challenge we'd ever done. We actually launched one about 3 years ago, but we made it so difficult to ever find that the Cryptic challenge even existed as a thing. So like the gateway to get into it just meant no one was finding it. This time we were quite deliberate. Put out a video, find Omega symbols. You know, within releasing that video, thousands, I was monitoring the site, thousands of people were like searching and finding them. So we'd done one before, but it had been pretty unsuccessful in that very, very few people had found it. I'd always loved them as a kid. When I was your age, young adult. When I was your age and younger, I was this nerd playing computer games, playing board games, loved doing Dungeons and Dragons and card games, all that kind of like proper geeky stuff. I really loved that. So I've always enjoyed problem solving. As an adult, I do locked in the room and escape rooms with friends. So it was just a case of we'd got to an end of a big piece of work, and I said to Dave, I want to spend 2-3 weeks designing a big community hidden cryptic challenge. And Dave looked at me and was like, that's not going to make us any money. That's unfair. So yeah, I took about 3-4 weeks off. But I've even though it's something which I was doing, which isn't necessarily generating an income for the business, thoroughly enjoyed doing it. It's been great seeing everyone take part in it. At the end of the day, you guys are all about in a few years, as scary as it might be, you're going into the world of work, frightening stuff. If you can find a job that you're passionate about and you enjoy, you're going to be working for the master of your life. It makes it so much more worthwhile. So yeah, just doing what you enjoy, really.
Yeah, and it was interesting, the conversations we had in the early days of the Cryptic Challenge, because I said to Craig, either nobody will ever get involved and you'll have wasted your time completely, or we'll be flooded with people doing it and they'll solve it literally within a couple of hours. And neither of those scenarios are what you want, really. And as it so happened, the way it played out was perfect. We didn't know that was going to happen, but we put hit counters on the web pages, so we could tell how many and how far people had got. So we were able to look at those counters and say, oh look, there's one school that's managed to get to stage 3. We were kind of monitoring your progress without actually knowing who you were at the time. So that was really interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I didn't know who each of these visitors was, but it was interesting watching people progress to stage 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. And a lot of that would have been you guys. It was interesting. And I did interestingly see stages where people are like, hang on, there's people here, but no one's been here. How are they finding that without going through here? But, that's all great. That's all good stuff.
So we were sort of doing progress checking of our own. So when we got to the YouTube videos along the way, we checked the view counts of all of them to see just whether we were ahead of other schools. But we were trying to guess how many times you viewed your own YouTube videos to work out how far ahead we were.
Yeah, that was it. I thought people might do that. They'd see the embedded video, jump to YouTube, look at the view count and go, oh, this is low. Maybe we've beaten most people to the punch. And of course, a bunch of those view counts would have been me as well, uploading the video, checking the video. So it was probably lower than you thought. We literally 2 days, by the way, final thing, after you guys submitted your proof form, we got another one. And it was 95, 96% filled out. It certainly wasn't as spot on as yours. There wasn't much detail. I sent back and said, I'm afraid the entire form must be filled out in its entirety. I'd underlined that on the form. They sent it back 2 days later, completed. So we do have a second. This was 3 students on their own, a second group of students who solved it, but they took another 4 or 5 days to do it. Since then, we've had no other forms. So we've had two groups have solved it, but you guys were first, and that's why you're here, and that's why you have the highly exclusive Craig'n'Dave Cryptic Challenge Champion mug, which, I mean, I can tell you. Exactly. Did you say they survived?
We'll have to distribute those after the filming.
Did you say those mugs had already arrived, by the way?
Yeah. They're just off screen right now.
I was expecting every single one of you to be on the call, like, got the mug.
Right.
Hey! Our Unscripted has turned into a live unboxing video. At this point, the people watching this video on YouTube have dropped off dramatically.
There we go.
Oh, Look at that.
Wow.
I will leave you guys with one comment, by the way. I'd asked your teacher, I'd asked Liam, would you like one present for the department, in which case we can put a decent sum of money, or would the students each like an individual piece of merchandise? And he came back and went, they're mercenaries. They're all like, merch. We want merch. So sorry, Liam, you've all got coffee mugs.
Cheers.
All right, well, look, it's been do you want to finish off with anything, Dave? No? Okay. Well, look, it's been a real pleasure speaking to all of you. Thank you for taking part. I'm glad you thought it was a worthwhile exercise. We'll do some more, and we fully expect you guys to put a submission in and see if you can smash it again. But as I say, we probably won't do one for a little while. Right, we're going to wrap that up there then. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming on the video. And we will see everyone next week, where we'll, for the first time in 5 weeks, we'll be doing something completely different. We're going to take another look at our Ministry of Silly Algorithms and announce another couple of winners. So for now,
yeah, that's something you can get involved with. If you don't know what the Ministry of Silly Algorithms is, have a watch of next week's video after this one is put out, and see if you can see if some of you can join our Ministry of Silly Algorithms. That's a lot of good fun. But
yeah, worth mentioning as well, if you get picked for the Ministry of Silly Algorithms, and we pick maybe one person a month, you get another highly exclusive yet different mug that's not available on the shop. So you could be double mug winners. Okay. Right, yeah. The excitement.
So just the final thank you from me for taking part. Really enjoyable, and thank you for being good sports and coming on the Unscripted series as well. So thank you.
You can return to your normal lessons now, Liam.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.